Hello. Gideon has fought a battle and has won. And the people were so impressed with him that they wanted him to, there was talk about making him the king. And he said, I don't want any part of that. He said, but I will be a judge. And so they got Gideon as a judge for 40 years. And he was a good, godly judge. But wouldn't you know, after the great victories that God had given Israel, once again, they started drifting away from the Lord's wishes. And Israel, after 40 years of being under Gideon, they drifted bad. And, but there was one very godly man named Manoah, who was from the tribe of Dan. And his city was close to their new enemy now, which are the Philistines. But Manoah and his wife loved the Lord very much, but they didn't have any children. And they asked the Lord, please, please. Well, finally God answered their prayer, and they had I was going to say a little baby boy. No, they had a big baby boy. And this little boy, they named him Samson. And he grew and grew and grew. But God had Manoah promised to raise him as a Nazirite. And a Nazirite back then were people who were supposed to be separate from the rest of the world. And God wanted Samson to be separated by, and the Nazirites couldn't, they didn't cut their hair and they didn't drink wine. This was to make a distinction between them and the rest of the Israelites. So when you ran into a Nazirite, you knew who he was. He drank Pepsi instead. I don't know, Dr. Pepper. And his hair was long. Anyway, Samson, when he was a little boy, he liked to go over the property lines, and he went a lot of times over to the Philistine side of the country to play with the kids over there. He didn't stay on his own land, and they were having a hard time with him, but he found the Philistine kids a lot more fun. Well, one day he well, not one day, but he finally grew into a teenager, and he fell in love with one of the girls on the other side of the property line. And this made Manoah and his wife so upset and so sad. But being the teenager that he was, he didn't want to listen to his folks. And he went over there and he married a Philistine girl. Well, the marriage lasted a little while, but the Philistines even had little figures of their god Dagon that they worshipped. Dagon, if you know, he had the head of a man, the arms of a man, and the body of a fish. Very disgusting, but this was one of the things they wanted to worship. Anything but God, you know. Anyway, Samson put up with this in his home for a while he was living there in the Philistine land. But it was a mixed marriage. Things were not going well. Samson got irritated and the wife got irritated. Two different backgrounds. Samson left and went back home. Well, when he left, in the meantime, his wife's father married her off to a Philistine man that she fell in love with, so it wasn't a mixed marriage anymore. But Samson was at home, and he started missing his wife, and not knowing she was remarried, he went back there. It says he brought her a wonderful gift. I don't know what it was. The scripture doesn't say. But he wanted to reconcile. Well, when he got back there, he found out that she was married off to somebody else. Oh, was he ever upset. Oh, he was mad. And So he started, what was the first bad thing he did? Uh, he did so many things. I'm trying to get him in order. He got so mad that when he left the city, he dug kind of like a little hole in the ground, and he started collecting little foxes. I don't know if they were baby foxes or what, but he started collecting a bunch of foxes, and he was tying their tails together, these little foxes, and keeping them in this little hole, till he got a whole bunch of these little foxes, tying 2 by 2 their tails together. And so when he got enough, he went back to the Philistines, and he let these foxes loose. It was a dry time of the year. The corn, you know how corn gets kind of ripe and looks almost dead, but it's ready for picking. Well, he let these little foxes loose in the cornfields, and he lit their tails on fire until they ran through the cornfields until their ropes burned and they could get away from each other and run out of the fire anyway. And this fire spread not just to the cornfields, but it spread to the olive trees, and it says it spread to the grape vineyards, and the scripture says it was a tremendous fire that no one expected, and they didn't have any fire departments, I suppose, like we do now, and so it was pretty bad. And they were so mad at Samson that they chased after him, and they chased him up to a mountain in his own country. And so there were some Israelites nearby, and says, "What's going on?" And they told him, and they said, because Israel's didn't want any more trouble with the Philistines. And so the Israelites said, "Wait, we'll go get him. We'll bring him down for you. Just hold your horses." And so the Israelites brought him down and gave him to the Philistines to stay out of the war with them. And as the Philistines were bringing him home, it says that Samson was so strong that he broke the cords of that he had been tied with while they were marching home. And he was able to run away from them. And he, let's see, what did he do next? He ran away from them, and he found a carcass of an old dead donkey. And he ripped the jawbone out of that dead carcass of the donkey. And it says he started flailing it around, and he killed all of the Philistines that were bringing him home. And it was a terrible mess. And so he went back home for a while, but he just could not stay away from the Philistines. He liked their women better than his own women for some reason. It was just in his heart. So he went back there again, and this time they thought, "Oh, he's back." Things had settled down, but oh, he's back. So they locked the gates of the city, and so they had him trapped inside their city so he couldn't get out, they thought. But during the night, Samson, it says he pulled up the gates of the city, and even the posts, door, post, 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 post. It says he ripped it all out of the ground, put it on his back, and he walked 20 miles with those gates on his back. and brought them out of the city. And I'm going to leave off there because I'm trying to be good about my time. We'll continue on pretty quick. Thanks. Bye-bye.